Hi, my name is Kate Kingston, and I own a company here in New York City called the Kingston Training Group. And for the past 25 plus years, all I've done is work with business technology sales executives to help them prospect more effectively at the C level, at the decision maker level across 60 industries. And I wanted to do just a regular training that I would do as if I was at your dealership, and I'm picking legal, which I know most people have in their territory. If you're a sales executive or a sales manager having your sales team watch this, have them watch this in the mind's eye of what solutions do our dealerships offer that would support what law firms need to do accomplishing their business day, their compliance, the remote accessibility, their cybersecurity and protocols. And that's how we build our conversations to get the meeting and our preparation for that meeting so that we have more robust proposals and closes. So let's get started. So we're talking today about a deeper dive into law firms. And what we want to think about is, what do law firms want? They want to obviously control their data. They want to make sure that they're emphasizing on productivity, meaning they want to handle more legal cases without having to add more employees. And technology innovation is accomplishing those goals. There's a lot of law firms out there. They tend to be solicited often, so they're good at going shoo fly, get away. So you have to really have a compelling reason for that business manager, that practice administrator, that CIO or a finance executive of why they should stop their business day to meet with you. And that's what we want to talk about today. All of their pain points are good, but how do we turn that into pleasure? Instead of saying we save you money, we want to talk about enhancing money. We want to talk about the benefits of cybersecurity. So when you're looking at the law firms, you want to say to yourself, there's lots of types of lawyers, aren't there? Just like there's different types of doctors, pediatrician, internal medicine. Types of law practice are always defined right on the website. They'll tell you, we do personal injury or wills or estates or corporate law. And you want to be able to lean in and at least count those. So when you call them, you say, we could support all 9 of your practice areas. Very easy customization. Who do you want to sit down with at the law firm? Is it the law clerk? No, but they're an end user of technology. It's not the legal secretaries, although they dispose, which just means interview witnesses, and they want to be able to record those. And we know with Zoom, for example, or Teams, you can do those legally without actually having to be in the room, but you need the network strong. They prepare forms and pleadings, so they have billable components to their workload as well, but they probably don't make the decisions on technology. We're getting closer. Paralegals. Paralegals are like the nurse to the doctor, the nurse to the attorney. They can do anything that a lawyer can do except stand up for you in court. So they also bill hours. All of those people that work at the law firm, if the law firm litigates, support getting that information or case content together so that they can win the cases on behalf of their clients. They're either going to mitigate them, which means we're going to sit down at a table and can we work this divorce out without having to get in front of a judge? Can we act like human beings here? Or, in a criminal case, for example, you're going to go to a judge and possibly a jury and let the state decide with the jury of their peers if they're innocent or not. But there's a lot of work that goes into finding all the material to cover that. One of the people that do some of that work, but also meet with the vendor, is called the business manager. You can literally Google business manager, space, name of the law firm, and up will pop their name because LinkedIn will show you that from their search engine optimization. Business manager runs the day-to-day. They meet with the vendors. This is your point person. Could also be called practice administrator. As you get to larger and larger practices, they'll have a technology team. They will certainly have a finance group or a controller. Those people, as we know, also get involved in the buying committee decisions for technology acquisition. I always talk about the money at the Kingston training group, because when you can tie money to technology acquisition, always more interesting, right? So billable hours, so that you understand how it works. Unless it's personal injury, all the other practice areas bill for their work. They bill at the 10th of the hour every 6 minutes. So you're like, that's fair. It is and it isn't, because what law firms do, which is kind of intriguing, is they will have the shortest unit of time be 6 minutes. So if you're writing an email on behalf of your client and it takes you 3 minutes, you bill for 6. If it takes you 6 minutes and 2 seconds, it automatically goes to 12 minutes. It always falls in the favor of the law firm, except for personal injury firms, because they get a percentage of the win. I'm sure you've seen those commercials. Do you have mesothelioma? If you have mesothelioma, call us, and they'll get you a percentage of the win. Now, what happens here is that every touch point of a legal document now has a billable component at a law firm. So everything that they scan or print or copy also can be billable. And if it's networked right from your dealership, they go up to the machine and they code in the case number, and they can count the clicks or the images that they do on behalf of that client, and they charge for all that too. So really, the technology is a revenue stream. Now, they want KPIs. Who doesn't? They want to realize the benefit of their billable work. And because every touch point of a legal document now has a billable component, it ups their KPIs. They like to talk in that language. Now you understand it. You can deliver that back to them. And it's all done on a fee agreement sheet. Many years ago, I had an intellectual property attorney, like copyright and get all our stuff, organized. So it's in my control. And I went to them and they were like, okay, give us $5,000. And I was like, okay. And it's on the fee agreement sheet. It costs this much for the paralegals to do work on your behalf, this much for the attorney. Now, I'm New York City, so it probably costs more than Kansas, but still very expensive. And then sort of like a prepaid Visa card, they ate at that money every day. And every other week they gave it back to me, and they're like, see, we spent this money. And then they go, hey, give me $2,500 more, and $7,500, the project's done. And I was like, all right. They justified all of the phone calls to the Copyright Department of the United States, all the prints that they did on my behalf, all of it. Look at the middle of the screen, discovery. This is the trial process, but what you should find interesting is the discovery. You're like, oh, we use that word too, Kate. I know, right? So when you have commonality in your workflow, it breeds trust. So that's why I would talk about it. Just like you do discovery, where you're going to cull, C-U-L-L. Cull down data during discovery means this. Let's pretend you and I were going to go apple picking. I'm like, hey, I'm going to cull the apples off that tree over there. That means I'm going to go over, look at the apples, pick the ones I want, bring them back. So culling down data during discovery means looking at all the case matter, which just means the case content, and picking out what you're going to use in behalf of your client. That's all it means. So they used to run down the complaint physically to the courthouses. Now this is all done electronically with a portal, but we can scan things, and can't we? We can convert documents to different types of formats, of course. And then the judge schedules a time, you get a case number, and then everybody engages in the discovery, which is looking at the data from both sides, so that you can win the case on behalf of your client. That's how it works. And it's all about paperwork. It's the whole process. So this is great for us, because all they do is go, let me think, let me see if it's been adjudicated on before, which means, like, for example, prohibition is not in place. If I have a drink after 21 years old, I'm legally allowed to do that. In the olden days, you weren't. So no one's going to arrest me for drinking if I'm not a public nuisance at 25 years old. So that means previously adjudicated on. Now, each of those parties, they might say, oh, I don't agree with the judge's decision. And then they create appeals, which is just more paperwork. This is what a complaint looks like. Somebody like the legal secretary is typing this out, and then it has to be converted into a PDF-A for PDF authorized, which is the way all legal documents have to be kept. And then it has to be scanned into the portal for the courts. That's us, you guys. We work with law firms in their pursuit of enhancing billable hours when filing with the courts, faster redaction, interrogatory answers, bait stamping, and compliant case archival and retrieval, all by implementing technology change recommendations. So that's a pretty good pitch. Let me prove what all of these things are so that you can use them with some real confidence. I also kind of like this line. If you are familiar with KTG, you know I build a conversation in 6 steps. And from talking about the vertical content to asking for the meeting, I might use this line. So screenshot if you like. I always talk about compliance in every deeper dive, because compliance for us means either document or data archival that the federal government requires, or secure access to this information that the federal government requires. So it's exciting to talk about. They have to do it. Our solutions accomplish it. So let's go through them. First, you see HIPAA. You're like, Kate, I thought this was a deeper dive on healthcare. It is. But personal injury law firms have literally the word injury in their subject title. And you know, the practice area. So they have medical records. The same compliance responsibilities of securing that information that a hospital has, anybody has who houses medical records. And then Sarbanes-Oxley, in case you don't know, has many meanings, but here it means that you must keep the case matter, the client files, for at least 7 years after you're completely done with the client. So if you're in the appeals process, you're still keeping every email, every piece of court pleading, everything. So this is where document management might make sense. I'm not saying that the law firm that you're meeting with does not have this locked down, that they don't already have these solutions in place. But if you speak in the language of the customer, it breeds credibility and trust that they may want to investigate having somebody better than somebody who talks about clicks and speeds and feeds, but how a law firm uses the MFP. That's what they're interested in. And then, you know, I understand that today, if you're looking at this in 2024, maybe we're not selling AI, but boy, you better understand it. At the Kingston Training Group, we're already implementing AI solutions so that we can have that in part of our training arsenal. And you got to understand it. What it means is you can look through the material quickly. You can literally say to AI, look at all my case content and, you know, create an opening statement for a federal court, and they'll literally write it for you using your information. So this is coming. It's here for most of us already. And as technology advisors, we need to understand it. We also need to understand that law firms absolutely utilize software that is made for their industry. Almost every industry has it. But what you can say with confidence is that, you know, here at your dealership, your technology can integrate seamlessly with any legal software that they're already using, which means that the technology assets already in play can always continue to pay benefits, because we can hook stuff up to scan to or print from, can't we? Even if we're not engaged in managed IT. I can put that in the pitch as well. Screenshot, screenshot. This is what a case briefing looks like. Sometimes it's interesting to look at the documents. If you have ever seen like those old, like LA Law, those old-fashioned lawyer shows where they have like, looks like encyclopedias behind them, those are legal books. And you used to have to look up to see if something was adjudicated on. This one happens to deal with people not having to work on the Sabbath if Saturday is their Sabbath, for example, or Sunday. And it was adjudicated on that if you know, you're Jewish, for example, Saturday is your Sabbath, and you can say, I can't work on that day, right? But then you can't also ask off for Christmas, wink, wink, right? So you got to pick a lane, but that's been adjudicated on. And so that means if another case comes in, he would go, Your Honor, Sherbert versus Werner in 1963, and he would use that in his case. You probably heard that before on TV. Well, all this information is now gathered through software. They don't have hard books anymore. They can search through it. And AI can find that information in seconds. Interrogatories. So here's a good insider trader word for you. Interrogatory. Got to say it right. Interrogatory. It's the questions that go back and forth between opposing counsel. If you saw the movie My Cousin Vinny, for example, and he was like, gee, I sure wish I knew who your witnesses were. And the prosecutor goes, Shirley. And then he walks in the next day, the next scene into the motel room with Marissa Tomei with like a pack of state papers like this big. And he was like, oh my God, can you believe they gave me all this information? And Marissa Tomei was like, didn't you know you could ask for it? Because you can ask for it. It's called interrogatories. And this is what I want you to say to them. Ready? In your discovery questions, which I also have for every industry, all 60 industries, covering every solution suite sell. John, is there any initiative in 2024 to relook at your interrogatory process to identify additional billable components? And he's going to go, what do you mean? And in your head, you should go like this, wahaha, because you're going to prove it now. This is what you say. Ready? Well, we both know that interrogatories are the questions that go back and forth between opposing counsel, and that they also have to be delivered to opposing counsel in PDFA. With solutions at Kingston Technologies, we can grab those interrogatories from opposing counsel, immediately convert that into an editable form, and let you literally Google through all of your software and your case content to find the answers, put them into that document, reproduce that into a PDFA, hard copy printed out for doc review discovery deliverable to opposing counsel, charge for that, and then scan it back in for Sarbanes case archival and retrieval responsibilities and charge for that. And he's going to go like this. Okay. So if you understand their workflow, did you see all the selling opportunities of scanning and printing and high-speed printing and archival? All of this is happening at every law firm with every case that is mitigated or litigated against. Now, maybe this wouldn't be a case in a closing at a real estate firm where there's, not questions, there's no opposing counsel, but everybody that litigates. You've heard me use the word discovery. Electronic discovery simply means that you can search through lots of other different information, because you know that now social media, video cameras of that parking lot, we saw the burglar steal the car, audio files, text messages, lots of things other than just a piece of paper is used as case content. And so that all has to be archived. So understand the networking and bandwidth that they need to keep all this information for all their cases for 7 years. They don't have to keep it in hard copy. It just has to be able to be replicated in hard copy. So we probably need a private VPN. We probably want to put the information in the cloud. And I didn't know what the cloud meant till I researched it. All that means, you guys, is a second server located outside the company. But you want to have that in place, because if that law firm had a server crash and they go, oh my gosh, we had a server crash, so we don't have that information from 5 years ago. The federal government goes, that's too bad. We don't care. Now we're going to fine you. So having that technology redundancy plan in the cloud, paramount of interest to make sure it's secure. And, we can look at all different types of documents as I talked to you about. Now you're like, wait, Kate, you said interrogatories, the questions, cool. You said doc review, what's that? So doc review, short for document review, means I'm getting the questions from the interrogatories from opposing counsel. Thank you for the PDF. I'm going to get all the answers for it. I'm going to hard copy it back to opposing counsel. And I also have my own questions that I need answered. They're going to give it back to you in PDF. They're certainly not going to give it to you electronic. Why would they make it easier for you? They drop off 14 big cardboard boxes with the papers. You have to look through it. You got to scan all that information in so that then you could do searchable PDF. That is doc review. I thought this was fascinating. 80%, what? Of litigation spend is spent dealing with the deliverable, the getting back, the scanning it in, the retrieving it, the printing it out. Well, that's technology, you guys. We can address that. We can absolutely help reduce the cost and the timeline turnaround of doc review. Discovery question. Have you reevaluated your doc review and interrogatory process to identify cost savings or enhancement of billable hours? Do you see how the questions are leading the witness, pun intended, for them to create selling opportunities and assessment and demos, which is the point of the first meeting. Nobody wants an intro meeting with your dealership. They want to understand how you work with other law firms to create a competitive edge and give them success. That's interesting to them. So that's why I pitch this way. Bait stamping. Now, every federal case has to have bait stamping, and most people will do bait stamping anyway because it's admissible in court. Every copier OEM has this embedded in the software program for the MFP, and or it's like $100, it's cheap. But what it is the numbers. This is how it works. I've networked it. We have the bait stamping on the machines. We have 6 copiers here in this one location. We got 4 in our second location. If I, as the paralegal, legal secretary, first year law firm, lawyer, goes up to the machine, it's case number 46902. I put 100 pages in from the interrogatory answers that need to be scanned in. I sold them a large document feeder, right? It scans in. It will mark those pages 1 through 100, bait stamping it with the name of the client and the number, etc. If I go up to the MFP, if anybody goes up to the MFP or any MFP in either location and we code the number in, it'll start on 101. That's bait stamping. Has to happen. We can do it. And because it's a click, we can grab that as a billable, right? At KTG, and here comes your gift with purchase, I have a checklist with everything we've talked about and talk tracks and everything written down. If you watch this and you want me to send you my entire checklist, my email's at the end. There's no charge. It's my pleasure. One of the things I do in that checklist is identify each of the practice areas, but also documents by practice area. Imagine if you were pitching or in a meeting or partnership review with a law firm that has adoption and family law as part of their practice. And you could say, well, for example, John, when you're culling down data in an adoption case, whether it's a certificate of adoption, a birth parent application, or a child information guide, to name a few. And he goes, well, yeah, right. You're like, oh, I know, right? If you can say the names of the documents, you're in front of everybody else, because everyone else says, your document management solution. There's just no such thing as a document. They have names. And when you give them, you start to get the head wag from your prospect to your customer. That's why we do that. Speak in the language of the customer, they understand you better, and they also find you more credible and trust. So I did that for all of, I think, 20 different practice areas. Case binder. If you've worked with KTG before, it almost looks like our binder. It's pretty big. But this case binder is a production, print, and finishing solution opportunity. When you go into court, if you remember, like from the movie Legally Blonde or any movie you've ever seen with lawyers, they walk in sort of like with those cardboard boxes and they sit them down and they sit at the defendant or the prosecutor's table, right? That's all the information that they're going to pull out and use in court. That's also bait stamped. They want to have it in color-coded tabs with all the information with double copies in case the judge wants to keep one of them. So because I did interrogatories and I know they're going to bring an expert witness in car detailing, for example, because this is a case of somebody, said they didn't get their work done for their car detailing, right? Then I know that guy's name is Adam Sandler. So I turn to the Adam Sandler tab and I'm able to pull that out and look at it while he is being interviewed or, on the stand, getting his testimony from the opposing counsel. And I'm making notes so that I can say, objection, Your Honor, or I'd like to submit this. He said he was, he's been doing this for 24 years, but on his resume on LinkedIn, it says only 4 years. Are you lying? Right? Like, so they use all that kind of information. They have it pre-planned because of the interrogatories. So this is tons and tons of printing, fast speed printing, central production print machine, as well as putting all that information with tabs and binders. So then hole punched as well, so that the first year or the paralegal can just take it, put it in the binders, put it in the box, ready for court. I mean, is that not us? Enhancing billable hours when filing with the courts. Okay, makes sense. Yeah. Faster interrogatory answers. She told me that it's the questions that go back and forth between opposing counsel, and doc review is the printing it out and scanning it back in. Good. But what's compliant case archival and retrieval? 7 years. She told me that. Great. What was redaction again? Redaction is just searchable PDF replacement. That's all it is. So I've been at this game for 25 years. I'm telling you, like my first 2 years in, I worked a lot with the global companies prior to the Xerox acquisition in 2007. And I was like in Kentucky or something. And I was like, well, what's the redaction process? She goes, the lawyer said a black Sharpie. And I went, yep, that's how they used to do it. And I'm sure, like, you've seen, when they hold up like a court document, when one number of our presidents are, impeachment opportunities, whatever, and they go, oh, this is classified information. Sometimes you see classified and it's blacked out, but redaction happens in every legal case. So it means obscuring or reducing the ability to see text. God forbid there's a child that was hurt, right? They're not going to leave Zoe Field's name in the case information that's archived. They just go by minor child, right? Or in a divorce proceeding, or they want the victim's name there. Or maybe it's a contract for an employment lawyer and I want 5 weeks vacation and I negotiated for it. They want to redact everywhere in the contract that it says 3 weeks. Because if I sign that contract and anywhere it says 3 weeks, then I got to live with 3 weeks. So that's why it's very interesting to understand that redaction is just searchable PDF replacement. Search the whole document for everywhere it says Zoe Fields and replace it with minor child. Redaction done. Technology innovation. Contracts also 11 by 17 still, so wide format scanning and printing. And don't forget, if they're a personal injury attorney, they have a lot of cases. They might even have a print shop. That's one of the things I would check. Print shop manager or print manager for the law firm. If they're big enough, they'll have them. Where they might also then, of course, be printing out, look at this giant picture of the crack in front of Walmart that my client fell in, right? And now all of a sudden they're using those graphics in court. We can print those out. A lot of periodicals to sign up for. That's something at KTG that we give everybody the list of. But now look how much this makes sense to you. Maximize their legal staff so they can handle more cases with the same employee count. For example, filing with the courts, faster redaction and interrogatory answers, bait stamping, compliant case archival and retrieval by making technology cost reduction recommendations. And that's why I wanted to sit down with Johnson's Law Firm, because I'm sure you'd want to know what your colleagues are doing to create a competitive edge with the right technology partnership. And John, that's been Kingston Technologies for the past 26 years. Would Tuesday the 15th at 9:45 work for me to stop by to continue a conversation on this topic in your office? That's the pitch. Take a screenshot of this one. This is CFO, because at KTG, we drive it to the vertical, customized to the company, executive title, and the guy or the woman. Because a CFO at a law firm has a little different focus than the CIO, as you know. So I have talk tracks for all of those. A lot of pitches. You might want to screenshot this one as well. Screenshot. This would be a great looking email. More pitches. I also have discovery questions for every vertical already also created and figured out. Let me just show you something that I do with my folks that I'm training. Prospecting research. So we're building a conversation to go after that law firm, understanding who to go after, their contact information, why they would want to meet with us, etc. I also like to customize it a little bit, right? So if I said, on LinkedIn, I want to remind you as well, you could put business manager, space, name of the law firm, up pops their name, CFO, space. Do not go after the partners of the law firm. You guys, they're not going to be the ones that make technology decisions. They hire people to run the practice, the business side of the law practice, because they're responsible for finding new clients and increasing billable hours. Like, for example, let me show you. Oh, Holland Knight. Here's a law firm. I would love to work with him. I wish I knew who the CFO was. CFO, space, Holland Knight. Boom, it gives me the LinkedIn. Mia Sutzman is their CFO because it just pulls the information from LinkedIn for free. So now I know Mia is somebody I want to go after, takes me right to her LinkedIn profile. You can see how old or young she is. You can see how long she's been there, etc. So easy to put her into the conversation. I'm sure Mia, having been at Holland & Knight for the past 6 years and 12 before at another law firm, you've seen. See how I just got her into the conversation? I would put that at the end of the pitch. And then if you have Zoom info, we have that for our clients. We will run lists for them. But if you don't, I just want to remind you that, if you do get it, make sure that you have them attach it to LinkedIn, because you can pull this right when you're in LinkedIn, including their mobile numbers, which is fair game in 2024. And then look how easy it is to customize. All 9 of your practice areas and 14 plus of your attorneys and support staff. That's it. Just count them. That's all you got to do. And then remember, practice areas, if you dive into their documents by practice area, you really got some. I know this has nothing to do with law firms, but I wanted to throw it in for the Consortium University. Screenshot this. Here's your elevator pitch, you guys. Perfect. Networking event in your e-signature, in your LinkedIn profile. Boom. And then don't forget to look at different opportunities. The 2023 Legal Trends for Mid-Sized Law Firms report, Cielo, you can just screenshot this and find it. It really tells you what they're all focused on. I'm a big researcher. I try to learn 6 hours a week, so I can sort of stay on top of my game. Sure, I could do more, but that's where I'm at right now. And then don't forget about all the solutions. At KTG, we verticalize all of your selling solutions: pay-per-cut, document management, cybersecurity, managed IT, production print, so that you would understand exactly how a law firm would use it, or AKA any of the 60 industries. So again, if you want the checklist from me on legal, I'm happy to send it to you. Production print, don't forget about that. All the onboarding, internal training, crisp manuals, and then of course case binder content. Tons of that. Production print, a nice big meaty proposal, robust solution. Large law firms need it. Let's give it to them. Of course, discovery questions would be ascertaining whether or not they have one that we're replacing, or where does it budget-wise make sense to bring that in-house? You know those answers. So ask those questions and then open up that assessment opportunity. Case binders are speaking materials also, as we talked about. Promotional materials, they're not allowed to B2C. They're not allowed actually to call people and go, hey, do you need a lawyer? So that's why they'll get into speaking opportunities. They'll join networking groups, etc. But they all have those little tricolor coded, full bleed brochures to hand out. That's production print, you guys. The money. Billable hours are taking on more cases. Everything has to be mobile accessible in 2024. Every touch point of a billable document has an increased billable opportunity. Compliance is archival or access, and then case collaboration in the cloud. What can't we sell them? Which is why there's such a great opportunity for us, and they get solicited so often. So come at them stronger than ever before. Reach out to me to ask for the legal checklist in the email subject title. I'm not going to call you and ask you if you want to do training. I'll just send it to you, because I want to support your interest in the Consortium University, because at the Consortium, we are a group of thought leaders that are impacting your industry positively by bringing resources to the table. I hope this is one of them. Kate Kingston, the Kingston Training Group.